So as artists and creatives, we're often the ones that are kind of associated as the least intelligent when it comes to finances, business, and money, and I personally think that's untrue. So while I am not a finance guru or a finance YouTuber, I wanted to just talk about how I stay financially stable as an artist, especially during these crazy times where the animation industry might strike and be going through one of its most dark periods, and things at the moment might seem hopeless for people who aspire to eventually either become an artist one day. But without further ado, the ways that I stay financially stable. Step one is to have a full-time job of some sort at first. So this doesn't always have to be an art-related job, although I have been lucky enough to work in animation for a time period before all hell broke loose. And during that time, I was able to collect enough savings to then be where I am today. So even if it's not an animation job or creative job, I do encourage the acknowledgement of needing some sort of full-time job at some point to just build your financial runway. So for me, I worked in animation as a storyboard revisionist at the very beginning, eventually worked as a storyboard artist full-time, and then an assistant director and writer. And throughout these different positions, you get your increases of salary. And just because you get an increase of salary does not always mean that you start to spend more. I really highly encourage you to, in the beginning of working your full-time job, just try to focus on saving instead of spending that money. And especially if you live in a high cost of living state, I would really encourage you to seek more affordable living situations, whether that be with a roommate, a sibling, a partner, or just not going for the most luxurious of apartments, especially if that's not even going to be what you're owning at the end of the day. Alongside my full-time job, I also did various side hustles, and I will go in order of what made me the most money to what was kind of just like nice to have pocket money. So first off, I will say that my graphic novel was probably what helped the most in supplemental income. Then next are YouTube sponsorships. So while YouTube is a great place to make money, AdSense money on YouTube is not going to pay as much as sponsorships will. Next is YouTube ads, and I brought that up in my previous point where it does not make as much money as sponsorships, but collectively over time, it still is something that is nice to have. Then next, I would say occasional freelances. So from time to time when I was working my full-time job, I would still occasionally be reached out to for collaborations to create illustrations, comics, or animations for other companies, and I would take these on sometimes. I would say I don't really receive these as much these days, but I am fine with that as I would like to focus more into my own work to be my primary source of income than always relying on creating stuff for other companies and not have that contribute back to my brand as an artist. Then next, I would say is Etsy, Patreon, and Gumroad. These I kind of just put in a bubble because in a way I kind of rely on individual audience members or viewers to pay for products or services. And while some of these really did contribute to my income as well, I probably could have stepped up my business game with tools like the sponsor of today's video, Kartra. So for those of you who don't know, I currently do email consultations and portfolio reviews where I give feedback back to artists so that they can grow in their best possible ways. But with tools like Kartra, this opens up a space where artists can create their own business, teaching, mentoring, or sharing their knowledge with other aspiring artists. And with so many options out there these days, sometimes you just need everything all in one place. Having a central platform to host all your services can help reduce some of the technical work you need to do as an artist, and this is where Kartra comes into play. So there are times in life I do find AI beneficial for artists, especially when it's taking things off our plates so that we can focus on our art again. And with Kartra, you can use AI to help you define your target audience, understanding what your voice is as an artist and business owner, and clarify your business goals. Kartra has a built-in AI writing assistant so that it can help take that off of your plate so you can just focus on your art and cultivating that relationship with your audience. Kartra also offers landing pages to capture leads, marketing funnels to lead in customers, a platform to host webinars, and tools to help scale your business in a variety of ways. So if you're an artist that has been looking for ways to share your knowledge or help mentor or teach others, you can use my link down below for a 30-day free trial, and you'll get 30% off your first month or year using my code MEESH when your trial ends. friends. Anyway, thanks again to Kartra for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to it. And then lastly, I would say Instagram sponsorships. So Instagram, while that is where my community is greater in numbers, I will also say that that is also where I make the least amount of money directly. I kind of use that more so as my central hub of where I announce things that could eventually lead to monetary opportunities, but it's not the place where I get money just from posting things. So that kind of goes to show that even if you have a lot of followers, it doesn't always guarantee money all the time. And that's also why it will probably be last on my list of how I made money in terms of side hustles, because this was never really one of the most reliable sources of income. So then the next thing about how I kind of reached some sort of financial stability as an artist is not just from making money, but there's also a lot of saving money involved, which is of course easier said than done. But let me just share how I did it in my own way as a creative. So of course the most basic tip is to live below your means. Don't go out and just live so frivolously just because you might have gotten a raise or bonus money. You do want to put a percentage of that into a savings of some sort. As a creative that's working for the first time, we want to spend so much money on things, whether it's like new equipment, new art books, things that really inspire us as artists, which is really tempting in the beginning. But I would say if you have urges to want to buy something, channel that energy into a bookmark folder, a vision board, or draw those things in your sketchbook. I recently actually started a sketchbook where all I draw in it is the type of life I want to manifest. But if you do end up spending money and you are a working professional and the money you spend things on end up contributing back to your work, you can always use that as a tax write-off, and that ultimately helps you save money when it comes time for tax season, because that's probably one of the times of the year where a lot of money is just gonna randomly get sucked out of your bank account. But you can diminish that amount as long as you keep track of what you spend that contributed to your work or your business. And if you don't know where to start with that, I do have this video here on how I saved over $7,000 as an artist during tax season that you can also check out in the links below. And then lastly, this might be difficult for some people, but I would suggest to just not buy a car. I personally think a car is a waste of money. It is a depreciating asset. Honestly, yes, it will get you to places and it will offer you the privacy that public transportation won't. But you know, as someone from New York originally, I try to rely on public transportation when I can, but LA's public transportation is not the best. So even though Ubering might cost more sometimes, I still would rather choose Uber over purchasing my own car, because I feel like at the end of the day, that one-time payment to get from point A to point B, if as long as it's not something I do every single day because I work from home, I am ultimately saving more money in the long run. So then lastly, the way that I've also been able to stay financially stable is not just through making money and saving money as an artist, but also investing that money, which is stuff that I feel like is not really fun to hear as an artist. But you know, when you see that your overall bank account kind of at least increases over time instead of always goes downhill, I think that this is more beneficial to have than not. So the first most basic thing I think any artist can do to invest their money or save their money more efficiently is to open a high yield savings account. There are a lot of videos out there about the different options, but a high yield savings account basically allows you to have a higher return on interest paid back to you for keeping your money with this specific bank. And for some people, this could be from hundreds to thousands of dollars per month, which literally could be like another additional bonus week of work just for you leaving your money there. So one thing I always do is I always set up a monthly deposit into my high yield savings from the money I make from all of my art careers, but it's not like an investment account where you have to leave your money there and you can't touch it. Speaking of investments, if you are working a full-time job or if you are working in the animation industry, you can open up a 401k, which is probably the most basic retirement account, where every paycheck you get, a portion of that will be contributed back to your 401k. And that money, while you cannot touch it, at least it won't be taxed. So any money that you get into your bank account directly that is not going into that investment account will be taxed, and you will have to pay for it come tax season. But if you contribute more money to your 401k per week or per month, then you are ultimately saving more money in the long run, and you're also making more money again over time just from leaving your money with them, so that come time you need to retire, hopefully that would have accumulated and snowballed into a bigger amount that could help you retire by the time you're ready to just be like, all right, I am done working. Other investment accounts you can open up though for retirement if you do not have the option to open up a 401k with the Animation Guild or any of your art industries is a Roth IRA or a regular IRA, which is again its own type of retirement account, which I'm not going to dive too much into because I'm not a finance channel. But during certain times in my career where I was not working specifically an animation union job, let's say you're a freelance illustrator, small business owner of some sort, those are the types of investment accounts for retirement that you could use. And then lastly, I'm just going to keep this one short because again, I'm not a finance channel, but opening an individual brokerage account where you basically invest your money in like, you know, the top companies or S&P 500, whatever you want. Honestly, if you don't know how to do this, I would recommend hiring or having somebody who is knowledgeable in investing help you with this. I personally ask for the help from my family members with this since they are more experienced in this world, but investing your money in the long run again is going to help you make more money just from leaving money that you know you're not going to touch for a while somewhere else, and this is going to help with your long-term finances. Another reason why investing might be helpful as an artist is that it does remove that temptation to spend so much money when so much of it is sitting somewhere else in a place that you cannot touch. So in a way, it's kind of forced discipline. And then lastly, buying a house or buying some sort of property instead of just always renting all the time. While I know that sometimes it is better to rent than to buy a home, I will just say for my situation, it really was a good move that at that time I didn't know it was going to be a good move, and I'm glad that I did it while it was still that low. So basically, buying a home as an artist, first of all, you get to turn it into your own studio space. As an apartment, you have a lot more limitations to making this place your own without dealing with certain consequences by the time you move out. And for me, I always struggled to have a place or an office place that I could just call as my own to work on my own stuff. And now that I have my own townhouse, I have that space to work in, and that space and portion of my utilities and mortgage that I spend working also goes back into my tax write-offs. But another reason why is that while having a home does have more upfront costs, by the end of it, if you were to move out or if you were to rent out your property in any sort of way, you would still be making some sort of money back, especially if your home appreciates over time. And living in Los Angeles, most properties here will appreciate over time. And if you make any renovations to it because you really wanted to style it to make it your own, and assuming you're an artist, you probably made it look a lot better than it used to with your creativity, then you most likely appreciated the house with your own contributions to it. Again, while it is not cheap up front, it's more so of that long-term investment that by the time maybe you're 50 or something, you'll be like, wow, thank God I made that decision so that by 50, I'm not like forced to make commissions or something as my source of primary income. Ultimately, my main point throughout this video is to really diversify everything. Like you might have noticed, the ways I make money and the ways I save and invest money are through all these different ways. I would just say to never leave your eggs in one basket, and if you're familiar with all of my videos, that is pretty much the general takeaway from all my videos, is that at the end of the day, you only have yourself. You cannot rely on a studio, you cannot rely on our world, you cannot rely on anyone else but your own decisions and your knowledge of how well you can manage these things. And that's how throughout all of these ups and downs and fluctuations in our industry and possibly our world, because of these decisions I made back then that snowballed up till now, I feel like I am in a better position than if I had not made these decisions financially as an artist. So yeah, if you want to see other videos though on how I make money as an artist or how I am able to remain financially stable in some weird way throughout these dark times in our industry, you can check out these videos here or down in the links below. Otherwise, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.